Honourable Dr Nick Smith.
Mr Speaker, I think David Cunliffe's poetry on Harvard was significantly better, and poetry will do for Mr Little what it did for Mr Cunliffe's career. Mr Little couldn't even get agreement on Labor's response to National's housing tax policy on Sunday, with half his caucus saying it was a capital gains tax and the other half saying it was not. Mr Speaker, tomorrow's budget will be about further delivering on our plan for New Zealand. Pity there wasn't a single idea or plan in Mr Little's contribution. But the backdrop for this budget is the best set of economic fundamentals that this Parliament has seen in a generation. Economic growth at 3.5%, growing at a faster rate than Australia, the UK, US, Japan or Europe. Unemployment up 74,000 in the past year, down to 5.8%, less than Australia, less than most countries in the OECD. Mr Speaker, inflation, 0.1% in the last year. That is the lowest rate in 70 years, Mr Speaker. Interest rates. I know they don't matter members opposite, they actually matter to housing. 5.5%, lowest in 40 years. You look at education, you look at health numbers, you look at crime, you look at welfare, every one of them are headed in the right direction. My challenge to members opposite is tell me a country in the world that's doing better. New Zealanders know we're doing well. That's why a record number are not leaving, and in fact, a record number are coming home. Now, Mr Speaker, I want to focus in on the mantra from the Leader of the Opposition that National's program is in tatters in respect of the economy because we did not quite make a surplus this year. In fact, Mr Little said this is the biggest political deception in a lifetime. Well, Mr Little must be very young. If this is Labor and the Greens' big attack on the budget tomorrow, it's going to go down like a damp squid. Let me give you the numbers. Treasury forecast, no, your criticism. Last year we forecast a surplus of 0.4 billion. Latest numbers is it's likely to be about 0.6 billion of a deficit. Now that's overspending of 70 billion. We won't know the final number till October, but it's fair to be about 1 billion or about a 1.5% difference from what was forecast. Well, if that's the greatest political deception, let me just remind members opposite of one thing. The last time you were on this side of the House, you promised the House a $1.3 billion surplus. And what did we get? We actually got a $3.9 billion deficit, out by $5 billion. So if $1 billion mistake or variation is the biggest political deception ever, what's 5? What's 5? In fact, I asked the Parliamentary Library, how do budgets and actuals compare over the last 20 years? Do you know what? Over the last 20 years, the average variation's been $2 billion. In fact, in the 9 budgets that Labor delivered, they were on average out by $2.5 billion, a record significantly worse than this government. The truth is, the record is this. $18 billion deficit 2010, halved to $9 billion, halved to $4 billion, down to $3 billion, and well and truly under $1 billion. Mr Speaker, I compare that with the budget in Australia last week, a $40 billion deficit going further into the red for the next 4 years, and I know what side of the Tasman I'd like to be on in respect of good fiscal management. Let me give you another number. Are members opposite saying it was a broken promise when National promised 171,000 jobs? We delivered 194,000. Forecasts are just that. This government is well and truly, if you look at those numbers, in great shape. I'm going to conclude by saying let's have some policy from Labor.
Time has expired.
Mr.